Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. I want to talk to you today about why the events of Los Angeles are happening. What does it all mean? What is the significance of a moment in which the United States government turns its military troops on and against its own people? Because that is how the rest of the world is observing what is going on. Okay, here's my explanation, and I hope you find it worth thinking about. From the beginning of the phenomena we call Donald Trump, he has made a point of singling out immigrants from the beginning and without interruption to this minute. The immigrants are the cause of our problems. The immigrants are a blot upon the American experience and American society, and especially its economy. Wow. Undocumented immigrants, the ones he particularly focuses on, are, by the account of the American government, 10 to 11 million people in a population of 300 million. The notion that they are the cause of the economic, political, or cultural problems of the United States is nothing short of preposterous. There are not enough of them. They have very little wealth, very little political power. They don't have the right to vote. They keep away from authority every which way they can for obvious reasons. The notion that they are the problem that a president should focus on should have told you long ago that this is a classic case of scapegoating. If you're a demagogic politician, you look for some idea, usually an old one, that has been bubbling around in a society, and you try to hype that up so you can use it to ride into political power. And Mr. Trump had it here in the United States in two ways. Number one, since the 1970s, large numbers of Americans have lost their jobs, have lost their income, find it difficult to cover the expenses of a decent life, have to put their dreams on the shelf, have to lose out to an American dream they can no longer afford, and no one prepared them for it, and they're upset and angry and bitter, as is obvious they would become. Number two, among them, there are anti-immigrant feelings. The notion that somehow immigrants get people's sympathy. But what happened to these people born here in the United States, raised to think if they worked hard, they'd get a decent job and could take care of their family, discovering that that's not available at all, they get jealous, and jealous of the immigrant who they see being sympathized with, being helped a little by the government, and they want help for themselves, which they're not getting. You can see how the jealousy could be used by a politician to hype the immigrant as if they were evil, an invasion, sick, I'm quoting Mr. Trump, deranged, criminals. None of that is true. And that's typical of making a scapegoat. And I want to show also that Mr. Trump, from the beginning, was interested in showing that unlike the more conventional Republicans, he would go further. He was not going to be held back. Whatever he touched, whether it's ending the forever wars, or whether it's changing political rules, or whether it's coming down on the immigrants, he would go further. He is the real thing. The others are afraid. The Bidens on the Democratic side, the Bushes on the Republican. So the immigrants are the big bad guys, and Mr. Trump is going to go further. Before I show you how that produces the events of Los Angeles, let me show you a political parallel to Mr. Trump. It's Adolf Hitler, and I didn't choose that to be sensational. Adolf Hitler had to deal with a German working class that was upset and angry. They also had been told there was a German dream they could aspire to. And then along came World War I, which destroyed that dream for them. And within a few years, they had the worst inflation that wiped out all their savings. And a few years after that, they had the Great Depression of 1929. It was too much for any working class to handle. And along came a demagogic politician. And he knew that among the German people, there had long been antipathy to Jews. It wasn't a major event. Jews were all over Germany by that time and had been there for many decades. But he saw an opportunity. He could turn the upset, the anger, the bitterness of large sections of the German working class against the preposterous enemy, the Jews. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the power. They were a very small minority in German society. They didn't account for anything. But you could make the story stick, and you would go further in ostracizing and hurting Jews. Ultimately, you killed them in order to show how rigorous you were against this hyped up scapegoat. Is what you made of the Jewish population. We don't do that to Jews here, but we do something very close to immigrants. There's a story in a recent spate of news programs that indicates that the American airplanes deporting immigrants are not going to Mexico City, where the government of Mexico asked for them, because the government of Mexico has prepared housing and jobs for these returning people who have nothing. But the American government isn't doing that. It's dropping them in remote villages deep in the south of Mexico, farther from the American border, where there is no housing and there are no jobs. And what are these people supposed to do? Is this the final solution to the immigrant problem here in America? The logic points in that horrific direction. And then we come to a special military type organization, ICE, a governmental setting up of a new kind of police, specifically targeting immigrants, with their faces covered in masks so you can't identify them, so they can commit all kinds of acts invisible to a government that is employing them in the first place. Hitler had those kinds of military, informal, formal formations that went after the Jews and arrested them and smashed their stores when they had them, and so on. And ICE is not necessary. If you don't want the immigrants, close the borders. We have a border system to do that. Go into court, use the legal procedures that allow you to remove immigrants who don't have documents. You don't have to raid their workplaces. You don't have to do it all overnight. You don't have to do it with stormtrooper outfits for the people doing it. None of that is necessary unless you're hyping the chosen scapegoat, which is what you're doing. And you know, in some parts of the country, like Los Angeles, where large numbers of immigrants exist, they are now inserted into that society in all the different ways. They work in government offices, they work in hospitals, they work in schools, they work all over the place, because that's what they have to do to survive, to work. And if you suddenly terrify them, and if you suddenly persecute them and snatch them out of their job, you disrupt in a way that is not necessary. This is not a crisis except in the political theater that Mr. Trump organizes. It's for him to pander to his base, to keep mobilized the upset and anger of people for good reason in this culture, but focused on somebody who wasn't their problem, whose deportation will not solve their problem. But in the course of it, we are disrupting not only the lives of all these immigrants, but all of Los Angeles, which is a major city in this country whose functioning is being disrupted. And the whole process involves breaking laws, breaking traditions, and using your own military on your own people in order to keep this political theater going. That's what Los Angeles is all about. Don't be fooled. If interventions like this strike you as worthwhile, please share this video with others that might be interested, friends, family, co-workers, neighbors. And of course, if you can help us defray the costs of doing this, we would be grateful. Just go to our website and there will be ways for you to do that as well. Thank you.